Hi, I'm Livesey, and this is PRN Tech. Much like the other devices we've been reviewing, we've got something that has already been replaced. Today we're taking a look at this LG V30. Now we know that the LG V30 ThinQ was announced about a month ago, but I think it's still important to take a look at a device like this, especially now that Android Oreo is available on this device. So let's dive in. The LG V30 here is an octa-core smartphone, much like the Sony Xperia XZ1 that we featured before. It has a quad-core 2.45 GHz processor and a second quad-core at 1.9 GHz. It also has 4 gigs RAM, and it has a 1440p 6-inch display with 64 gigs of RAM as well as expandable storage. Now, unlike the Sony Xperia XZ1, if you want to put more memory in here by MicroSD card, you do have to use a paperclip to get into where the SIM card is. We've noticed that with a number of phones recently. The Sony certainly does it better. Now, this is one of the phones that you guys asked us to take a look at. It was already on our list of products to do when we relaunched PRN Tech, and we knew we were going to get our hands on it. And I have to say, and not to knock anything about the phone, but I wasn't as impressed as everybody made this phone out to be. A lot of people were saying that this was the most underrated phone of 2017. We've taken a look at it, we've used it, we've compared it to other phones like the Samsung Galaxy Note 8, and obviously our daily phone, the iPhone 8 Plus. And I just have to say, it is a nice phone, but it just doesn't feel like that phone that everybody said you gotta get your hands on. It just doesn't do anything really surprisingly well. One thing that I really did notice, when it comes to the screen, the colors aren't quite as deep as something like the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. In fact, when I was using it to play something like Boom Beach, I found that it was not only not very deep color, but also it just felt very pixelated. It wasn't quite as crisp. It didn't even look like it was running at 1080p, let alone 1440. The other thing I wasn't overly impressed with were the cameras. There's a 16 megapixel camera on the back with a 13 megapixel wide angle. And the way it works is when you're opening up the camera and you're using it, you can switch between not a landscape and a portrait like you would on other phones, but more of a landscape and then a super landscape mode, which really widens everything up. Now this might work for some people, but we found that there really isn't a use case for us to use such a wide angle. And in fact, we found that it really gets distorted if we're trying to do something like video and switch between it. It just gets really fisheye and not something that we were a huge fan of. The other thing we noticed too is if you're trying to stream and you're using this with, say, something like the DJI Osmo Mobile that we have, you put it on and you're trying to switch between the cameras, that wide angle will actually capture the apparatus that you're holding onto in order to stabilize your shots. So a couple things to note there. The other design issue that we've had with this is where the thumbprint sensor is. It's on the back, which is good if you're picking up your phone like this, quick tap, you're in to go. But the problem is if you're using it and it's on the table, how do you get into it? You could tap it, then you could put in your code, but that fingerprint sensor being on the back means you really can't use it. Some of the other phones that we've used that have it on the side make a little bit more sense. Now, aside from all that, we have enjoyed the use of this phone. Android Oreo has certainly improved the speed and battery life when it comes to this device, and it's nice that it's finally rolling out. Now, it is only Android 8.0.0. I know they're already on to 8.1, and really they're moving on to the next huge iteration of Android already, but that is one of the problems that we always talk about when it comes to any Android device. The fragmentation is still prevalent with this phone. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about is the UI that LG uses. They've got their own, much like a lot of the manufacturers out there, but I just find that it isn't quite as nice as something like Samsung. And I'm not even a huge fan of Samsung's. I'd put that below what would be, my opinion, Sony's best, which is almost vanilla Android. So this kind of comes in third place for what we reviewed so far. I just don't like the look of it. It's kind of basic, doesn't really do anything too special. It really is a little different when you push the home button, you know, you hold it to go into Google Now. But when you swipe in, you have to go into your items and everything on different pages. So everything has to be on the home screen rather than having like a little drawer to be able to pull all your apps from. So little things, differences like that have changed with their own built-in UI. Now, if you're on the market for a phone like this and you don't need the V30 ThinQ, then you can certainly pick up something like this. It still works very well. And really, I mean, the performance is going to be quite good for the next couple of years. I don't think you're going to have any slowdown issues. A benefit, again, is the fact that it's been updated to Android Oreo, which is essentially the most latest version that you can get today. But who knows in a couple months? I mean, that's been out now since what, August? And it's only getting it now. So, I mean, if you're hoping to get the next version after this, it might take a while longer. And then eventually it won't be supported anymore. So in conclusion, it is a nice phone. It certainly wasn't the phone that I was expecting based on all the reviews and hype that this phone had. I think it's pretty decent, but it's certainly not the best that we've used. I hope you like this episode of PRN Tech. We are trying to add some tech stuff into our mix on top of our other show, Test Drive, because really a lot of us do like technology just as much as we like cars. So if you have any requests for specific products, we will do our best. Until next time, take care.